Good evening from the Channel's newsroom in London. 4 foreign hostages have been rescued by French special forces in northern Burkina Faso. 2 French soldiers were killed during the covert operation. They've been named as Cédric de Pierrepont and Hélène Bertoncello. President Emmanuel Macron expressed his condolences. He also praised the armed forces for their efforts. 2 Frenchmen who'd been kidnapped from a national park in Benin last week, an American woman and a South Korean woman, were freed in the raid. 4 kidnappers were also killed. The United States has increased tariffs on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods, the hike coming midway through last-ditch negotiations in Washington. Import taxes on products from 5,700 categories rose from 10% to 25%. Tensions between the 2 largest economies escalated after Beijing revised a draft deal last week. On Twitter, President Trump said the tariffs will make America much stronger and that China should not renegotiate deals with the U.S. at the last minute.
The United States is comfortable with the outcome whichever way it goes, but we would be happy if we could have an agreement with China. Remains to be seen if that can be done.
Hong Kong says it's hoping for the best but preparing for the worst. And France has warned the dispute poses the single biggest threat to global growth.
It means that trade tariffs will go up, fewer jobs will circulate around the world, we won't be able to circulate our own French goods as easily around the world, and jobs will be destroyed. A trade war will destroy jobs in France and in Europe, and in this area too, Europe has to unite to resist that.
World growth forecasts have slowed down over the last 12 months because of increasing concerns about the trade tension between China and the US. We were all hoping, and all the signs looked positive, that there was going to be a deal. So it's a bit of a blow to find over the last few days that things seem to have taken a negative turn. I am still optimistic that a deal will get done between China and the US, but it's certainly yet again going to the wire.
South Africa's governing ANC party is set for victory, but election results suggest it's facing its worst performance ever. Final numbers are due tomorrow, and it's clear the African National Congress will retain power, but it will be with a reduced majority. The general election is the first test of national sentiment since President Cyril Ramaphosa replaced Jacob Zuma as head of state in February last year. Photos have been released of the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un watching the state's second missile test in less than a week. According to South Korea, 2 rockets were fired, covering distances of 420 and 270 kilometers. Japan says the latest launch violates United Nations resolutions, and it called for a halt to the ballistic weapons tests. Forces loyal to the UN-backed Libyan government are advancing on Tripoli. A large convoy of vehicles carrying dozens of men have left Misrata to join the battle against Libyan National Army fighters loyal to Khalifa Haftar. More than 60,000 people have been displaced since the LNA's offensive began at the start of April. A Saudi Arabian vessel, which was due to pick up weapons from a port in France, has left the area without its cargo. 2 human rights groups have been fighting to block the ship from accessing its load, arguing it contravened an international arms treaty. A French judge threw out the complaint, but tracking data shows the ship is now sailing towards Santander in Spain. 3 Venezuelan opposition lawmakers have taken shelter in foreign embassies. Richard Blanco of the Brave People's Alliance Party is one of 10 members of parliament to lose congressional immunity. He reportedly sought refuge at the Argentine embassy. The crackdown by the Supreme Court came after lawmakers joined opposition leader Juan Guaido in rallies to trigger a military rebellion. A German woman who posed as a billionaire heiress has been jailed in New York. 28-year-old Anna Sorokin stole more than $200,000 by scamming banks, boutique hotels and friends. She was sentenced to at least 4 years in prison.
The judge was fair. She considered all of our sentencing memorandums and our arguments. The plea was 3-9, so there was no way that there was ever going to be a sentence that was less than the plea. And I think we're both satisfied with the result. Obviously, we would have hoped for less time, but certainly this was expected.
And finally, the world's richest man, Jeff Bezos, is planning to send a spaceship to the moon. The founder of rocket company Blue Origin, he unveiled a lander which will be the size of a house. Called Blue Moon, the unmanned craft will be able to ferry payloads and have the capacity to carry 4 rovers. The ultimate aim is to establish a lunar base for people within the next 5 years.
It's time to go back to the moon, this time to stay.
And that's your international news around the world in 5.